Look at this, I got two little mini drones here. This is the DJI Mini 3 Pro, and this is the EXO Drones Mini Pro. Both of these things have obstacle avoidance. Both of these things are less than 250 grams. They have very similar cameras, so we're gonna talk about which one is best for you. Is it this one that's $750, or is it this one from EXO that's 650 bucks? Put these guys to the test. Stay tuned. All right, so let's talk about what these things have, and on paper they sound pretty comparable. To start with the cameras, they both have 1/1.3 inch sensors. That's 3/4 of an inch, so that's the same. They're both on 3-axis gimbals. The DJI here is an f1.7. This is an f1.8, so pretty nice large apertures on both of them. They both have obstacle avoidance in the front and in the rear and on the bottom. They both shoot 4K. We can do 4K 30 with the EXO, 4K 60 with the DJI. Now the DJI camera here will tilt vertical, so you can take vertical video. You're gonna have to crop it on the EXO, so there's that. They both have follow me features. They both have return to home. The EXO here has waypoints, the DJI does not. The active track on the DJI here is definitely a little bit better than the one here on the EXO. It just seems to work a little bit more flawlessly, as does the obstacle avoidance. The obstacle avoidance on the Mini 3 here is definitely a little bit better.
You know, the flight modes are fun, and one thing that we did is we flew both of these drones through some trees with obstacle avoidance on bypass. Now this is the DJI Mini 3, and it just did absolutely fantastic. It threw everything we threw at it and had no issues. You know, this goes on for a while, but not quite as fun as the flight with the EXO. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you the screen recording. You can kind of see, you know, what it sees and what it's doing. It's kind of beeping and bobbing and weaving, and it does a decent job. For the most part, it does work, right? But you cannot rely on obstacle avoidance. Look at that. You can see Chris flying ahead of me here. Going to pass him up a little bit. But the EXO Mini did not perform flawlessly, right? It did have some issues, as you're going to see up here in a little bit. It does a job. It helps the beginner, but it is not something that you can rely on, right? We have sensors in the front and the back and the bottom for both of these drones, but you know what? They do not have sensors on the side. So as we kind of get close to this tree, it didn't see it. It didn't see it on the side, clipped it, and fell out of the sky. It was fine, but you know, you learn your lessons.
And one thing I really like about this Mini from DJI is you can look up. You get kind of a look up angle here, whereas the EXO drone is fixed, basically looking straight out or down. So it's kind of nice to be able to look up a little bit. You know, if you're flying under something, you can kind of get a little look up angle there, which isn't possible here with this EXO. Overall, the DJI drone here is a much more refined and polished drone. The app works well. You can get a controller with a built-in screen. We were flying these things on the beach. Now, it was nearly impossible at times to see the screen on my EXO drone, where the built-in LCD screen on DJI remote was really pretty crisp and clear. But if you want that remote, that's $910 for the package with that, and that isn't an option here with EXO. We'll take a look at some of the pictures and videos, and you can kind of decide which one do you like. I'm not going to choose for you. That's really kind of up to you. But at the end of the day, I'm going to let you choose which ones look best. So here we go.
So the first video here is coming out of the DJI Mini 3 Pro. We're going to film Mini 3 from DJI, then EXO Mini, kind of in that order. So if you're paying attention, you know, first note DJI, then EXO, and all of the video here is going to be shot at 4K 30 frames a second. So yes, the Mini is capable of 60 frames a second, but to compare apples to apples, we are going 4K 30. Now this is the EXO Mini. You'll notice it flies a little bit slower, just kind of in the normal mode. So again, they're not going to be exactly the same. Chris is flying one drone, I'm flying the other. So again, two different pilots, but same time of day and similar flights. So you can kind of compare that a little bit. Now we're going to get to a darker scene, right? A little bit night. Now both of these have similar 1/1.3 inch sensors. That's like 3/4 of an inch if you don't want to do the math. So you can kind of see how that works. We're kind of setting up this shot with the boat. Looks pretty cool at night. And Chris here is actually going to now just kind of start to follow the boat, which is pretty cool. Here I am with the EXO Mini, just gonna kind of fly at it as it approaches us. Don't worry, I'm not gonna fly over a boat here, but nice calm scene. The EXO, one of the things that it does struggle with is horizon tilt. That's something you can fix, and hopefully with firmware it'll be better in the future, but that's something that certainly does happen. Now here we are at a beautiful beach scene. Again, this is the DJI Mini drone here. Now I'm going to stop talking here and let you just kind of enjoy the footage and kind of take it all in and let you decide which one you think is best. Here we have a little bit of side-by-side footage, DJI on the left, EXO Mini on the right, and again, 4K 30 straight out of the box settings. We haven't tweaked anything, so you can kind of take a look at them and kind of compare for yourself. Alright, so what about photos? Shooting at 4K, highest resolution here. Actually, the highest resolution is that 48 megapixel, so that's DJI followed by EXO. Now here we have that 48 megapixel photo from the DJI drone. Here is a similar photo from that EXO drone. Now, as we zoom in, you really get better resolution. Here's DJI, and here is your EXO. So is it gimmicky? Maybe. That does stand out with the DJI drone is you can push a button and it'll change from 16:9 to 9:16. So if you're a creator, you can do some of that. So this is native 9:16 video coming out of the DJI Mini drone. Now you can do that with the EXO, but you're gonna have to crop it. So this is, a regular 16:9 that I just cropped. You're not using the full sensor. Still looks okay, but if you're watching on your phone, it'll look great. But if you're on a bigger screen, it might not.
Okay, so yeah, the horizon tilt sometimes happening on this EXO drone. Now you can adjust that, but like I said, kind of if you're out there on the fly, you may not notice it until you get back, and that's really kind of a pain in post. So yeah, EXO and Hubsan here, they kind of built this thing as a partnership. They have some work to do in kind of adjusting for some of those little things. This drone just isn't quite as refined. You can see this protector, this plastic cage on the bottom. That's because these sensors get super hot. And it's kind of protect you from that heat sink on the bottom. If you fly with that, it's actually over 250 grams, so there's that. Okay, so in terms of specs, they're pretty comparable, right? We already talked about the cameras. We've got a 10,000 meter range. We got a 40-minute flight time. You're not going to get either of those numbers with this, but you should get over 30 and, at least half that range. Again, you got to keep this thing close so you can see it at all times. Now the DJI drone here is clocking in just over 30 minutes, but you do have that 47-minute battery option, which is pretty nice. And it has a 12,000 meter range, so that's pretty darn impressive. At the end of the day, really, DJI is the known commodity, and they've been making a really good drone for a while now. At the end of the day, this DJI drone is a better drone. It's also more expensive, so there is that. But there's just something to the refined, polished approach that DJI has with this drone. Now that EXO drone made by Hubsan has improved since the last time I flew one, and it's nice that there's another competitor in the market with DJI. So sure, this is a viable option, you know, USA-based customer service. EXO is, I believe, based in Salt Lake City, Utah, so there is that. But at the end of the day, it's just not quite on par with this Mini 3 Pro. It's a good drone, but I'd still probably opt for this. It's an extra $100 for sure, but probably worth it. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. If it was, give us a thumbs up. Make sure you check us out on halfchrome.com. Good luck, everyone, and happy flying.